Can you feel it? Something so still, yet unbearably heavy, as if the entire space around you is holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. You wake in the middle of the night to a cold, piercing sound from nowhere, yet it feels like it's getting closer. You sense a pair of eyes watching you, even when no one is there. And sometimes you dream of running, but you don't know what you're running from. Sagittarius, a dark omen, is slowly taking form. It has no shape, but it has weight. It slips into your dreams, your heartbeat, the hollow places no one can see. And the scariest part is, it isn't coming from the future. It's coming from somewhere you used to belong. Now, you must choose. Will you keep pretending you don't hear the call echoing in your soul? Or will you dare step into the darkness, where every mask will burn away, revealing the true self God has quietly prepared for you long before you were born? Leave a vow for your soul. I am ready to awaken, even if it means giving up everything I once called safe. Because maybe, the very moment you write that down is the moment destiny begins to shift. And if you feel the call rising inside you, keep walking with me. Because what we're about to uncover next may forever change the way you see this life. You've always carried the feeling that something greater is waiting for you. No one taught you to believe in it, you just feel it. Like an underground current beneath your every thought, your every choice. When others ask why you've chosen this path, why you gave up what everyone dreams of, you simply smile. Because they don't understand. To you, living without meaning is no different than slowly dying in plain sight. Sagittarius is the only zodiac ruled by Jupiter, the symbol of expansion, of faith, of seeking truth beyond the material world. Those who carry this energy always have an inner compass, and that compass screams whenever you stray from your truth. Maybe you've tried to stay quiet. Maybe you've tried to live normally like everyone else, but then your body starts to protest. Restless sleep, scattered thoughts, a soul thrashing inside your chest. That isn't illness. It's a warning. I once met a Sagittarius woman who left a high-powered executive role to serve in a small village in Peru. When I asked how she found the courage, she simply said, "If I stayed, I would have died. Not my body, my soul." Her words left me silent for a long time, because sometimes recklessness is the purest form of faith. And for Sagittarius, that faith doesn't come from logic, it comes from spiritual depth. If you are Sagittarius, you'll understand this. You can stand in a room full of people and still feel utterly alone, not because you're unloved, but because part of your soul always feels elsewhere, farther, higher, where truth isn't twisted, where people live by faith, not compromise. You don't say it, but it haunts you daily. And when you begin to shrink inward, when your laughter grows weary, when the light leaves your eyes, that's when your soul is breaking. But here's the miracle. Sagittarius doesn't stay broken for long. You may shatter, you may scream, you may lose your way, but somehow you rise again. The fire in you reignites from the ashes. Not because you're strong, but because you were born with a mission that refuses to let you stop. The truth is, the world needs people like you, the ones crazy enough to believe that truth still matters, and brave enough to live by it, even when misunderstood, isolated, or abandoned. Those who don't live to impress, but to remind others what is real. I believe, if there's a quiet revolution stirring in the human soul, Sagittarius will be the first to release the arrow, not to conquer, but to awaken. And if you're hearing this, and your heart is quietly trembling, don't ignore it. This may not be just a voice recording, it may be the confirmation your soul has waited for, all this time. Leave a silent promise in the comments. I will no longer stay quiet before the call of my soul, because even a single spoken truth can open a gate you never imagined existed. And remember, everything you've been feeling lately, the unexplained exhaustion, the emptiness around familiar faces, the strange dreams repeating again and again, they are not random, they have a reason. They are signs, they are omens. But where do these omens truly come from? Why is Sagittarius the one being awakened first in the midst of the universe's great shift? If your heart is silently nodding to all of this, then maybe you're ready for a deeper shift. Subscribe now as a quiet confirmation. I am ready to live true to my soul, even if the path is not easy. Come with me into the next part, where we'll lift the veil on messages you're no longer allowed to ignore. Sometimes omens don't arrive as vivid dreams or clear signs. They come as strange vagueness, like feeling lost among those you once called home, like a deep exhaustion you can't explain, like a quiet voice rising from within, one you can no longer ignore. Sagittarius, if lately you've felt like you're just floating through your own life, if you look at the things that used to bring you joy and now feel only emptiness, then maybe you're standing at one of the most important soul crossroads of your life. Don't mistake it for coincidence. Don't try to smother it with work, appointments, or a pretend smile. Because what you're feeling is the omen. It's not a threat. It's a calling. A calling that forces you to choose. Keep running from yourself or stop and listen. There was a time in my life that seemed perfectly fine. A good job, many friends, a stable routine. But deep inside, I felt myself drifting from something sacred I couldn't name. Until one night, I dreamed I stood before a great gate, shrouded in fog, and a voice said, "If you don't walk through, the flame within you will go out." I woke up with my heart pounding, and in that moment, I understood. Omens are not just outer signs. They are the soul's uprising from within, fighting to be lived honestly. For Sagittarius, omens usually appear when you start abandoning yourself, when you stay in places your soul already left, when you silence yourself in relationships just to keep peace, even as you swallow the truth each day. When you say, "I'm fine," while an entire forest inside you is burning. And if you've ever felt that way, know this: you're not crazy, you're finally waking up. Don't ignore the times when something no longer fits. Don't dismiss the urge to leave, even when you can't explain why. That's not recklessness. It's your soul warning you. You've drifted too far from your sacred path. I once asked a Sagittarius woman who left everything behind to live in a quiet monastery, "Weren't you afraid to lose it all?" She smiled and said, "I lost nothing. I just returned what was never truly mine." And from that moment, I understood something. Omens don't arrive to scare you. They arrive to call you home. If you've been having strange dreams, if you feel like someone is pulling you from your comfort zone and you don't know why, if it feels like something is silently seeing through you, don't brush it off. It may not be an illusion. It may be an invisible energy knocking, softly but insistently. And if your heart is nodding in resonance, leave this vow in the comments. I, Sagittarius, choose to trust in divine protection. And if you truly believe in that protection, hit subscribe as a sacred affirmation of your faith. And share this message to spread light to the other souls who may need this quiet reminder, just like you. Maybe you don't understand everything that's happening, but you can feel it. The universe never knocks on a soul that isn't ready. And the truth is, you've been preparing for this for a long time. Through every heartbreak, every loss, every time you stood back up in silence. Let me ask you something. What part of you is slowly dying that you pretend not to see? Which version of you is knocking, begging to be brought back to life? If your answer is yes, then maybe the omen has arrived. And if you feel it, stay with me. Because in the next part, I'll show you why everything falling apart around you isn't the end. It's the divine rearranging, so you can be reborn for real. So, if omens are real, then what kind of transformation is coming? And why does it begin with everything falling apart? Let's step into the next chapter together, where the truth won't be soft anymore, but it won't hide either. There will come a day when everything you built with so much effort starts to crack. Relationships that once felt unshakable become distant. Dreams that once made you cry from longing now feel like faded, outdated memories. And when that happens, you might think you failed. But no, dear Sagittarius, you haven't failed. You're collapsing on purpose. And that collapse is part of the rebirth. Your soul didn't come here to live a half-life. You didn't come here to play a role others accept while burying your light beneath small, safe structures. The universe knows this, and that's why, when you drift too far from your sacred track, it starts to take away everything that no longer serves you. Maybe it's your job, maybe it's the person you love, maybe it's even a version of your identity you thought was you. I've seen a Sagittarius lose it all at once. A divorce, a job, a health crisis. She once told me there were mornings I couldn't get out of bed, not from physical pain, but because I didn't know who I was anymore. And yet, she came to see sometimes you have to lose everything to find what was never lost, your soul. you will collapse. This is not a curse, it's a promise. Because collapsing is how you peel away what's not you anymore. You'll cry, you'll scream, you'll feel abandoned by the very things you once called sacred. But then, in the chaos, you'll start to see the light. Not from outside, but a fragile, warm, unkillable light, rising from deep inside you. If you're in that stage of collapse, don't fight it. Don't rush to heal. Don't scramble to patch things back together. Let yourself fall, completely. Because sometimes, it's in the free fall that you find the most honest version of yourself, untouched by expectations, unbound by fear. Collapse does not destroy you. It only frees you from all that is no longer you. And when the ashes settle, you will see you weren't destroyed. You were being rebuilt. According to the divine blueprint, the universe has kept safe for you since the very beginning. If you're in that place now, whisper this to yourself: I allow everything to fall apart so I can live true to my soul. Because sometimes surrender is the bravest act of all. But what awaits you after you've lost everything? When there's nothing left to defend, nothing left to prove, nothing left to hold on to, who do you become? Stay with me in the next part, where we'll talk about the fire of rebirth and why only those who dare fall to the bottom can rise with a light that nothing can extinguish. In the end, Sagittarius, do you know why you still don't feel at peace, even after going so far, trying so many paths? Because you've spent your whole journey aiming your arrow outward and forgot that the greatest journey always begins within. You are the symbol of the bow and arrow. You know how to cast vision, how to aim toward distant horizons. But have you ever asked yourself, what would happen if that arrow turned inward, into the soul? Maybe you'd find a loneliness you've never dared to name. Maybe you'd see that most of your outer journeys were just distractions from the one that truly matters, the journey back to yourself. I once believed I had gone far, that I understood life, that I had enough experience to guide others. But it wasn't until I sat alone, in a room with no applause, no admiration, that I finally heard the truest voice of my soul. It wasn't calling me to go anywhere, it was whispering, "Come home." Turning the arrow inward is a turning point not every Sagittarius dares to take, because to do so means facing what you've avoided, the fear of being abandoned, the feeling of not being enough, the choices that once hurt others and yourself. But it's precisely there, in that confrontation, that true healing begins. You can travel across 10 countries, speak to hundreds of people, read 100 books, but only one moment of facing your inner emptiness without turning away begins the real awakening. Why does this matter so much for Sagittarius? Because you were born with a calling to seek truth. But the deepest truth isn't found in philosophies or doctrines. It lives in the sacred stillness within you, where God, the universe, or whatever faith you carry, is still quietly waiting for you to listen. If you're starting to turn the arrow inward, leave a comment as a sacred affirmation. I am ready to explore the part of my soul I've long avoided. Because sometimes, that simple admission is the key that unlocks the gate you never thought you could cross. The bravest ones are not those who travel the farthest, but those who dare sit with the pain they once buried. And you, Sagittarius, no matter how far you've run, your soul has been patiently waiting for you, right here, inside you. But once you truly face yourself, what will break apart? And what will be reborn? Follow me into the next chapter, where we will step into rebirth through fire and discover why only the souls brave enough to burn themselves to the ground are the ones who can truly carry the light into this world. There is a kind of rebirth that does not happen in peace. It has no soft music, no gentle glow, no arms waiting to catch you. True rebirth is when you step into the flames carrying nothing with you except yourself. And you, Sagittarius, were born of fire. Not decorative flame, but the kind that burns illusions to ash. The fire of truth, of unforgiving light, of pain that cannot be escaped. Maybe you've felt it before. Those nights when your heart ached for no reason you could explain. Those moments when you broke down in tears, not for someone, not for anything specific, but simply because your soul was too exhausted to pretend for one more day. Sagittarius does not rebirth by avoiding. You rebirth by walking straight through the pain. And that's why life keeps pushing you to your edge. So you have no path backward, no place to hide. Jupiter, Your ruling planet symbolizes spiritual expansion. But to expand, you must be brave enough to pass through the old layers. Let what once defined you go up in flames. Titles, roles, outdated beliefs, even dreams you once fought for, if they no longer serve your soul, they too will burn. And if you are caught in that storm now, close your eyes, place your hand over your heart, and whisper, I allow the sacred fire to burn away everything that is no longer me. Because sometimes, it's only when everything turns to ash that you can see the light inside you, the light that can never be extinguished. A Sagittarius friend of mine once lost everything in just 6 months. Her marriage crumbled, her business collapsed, her health gave way. But instead of bitterness, she wrote a single line in her journal that I will never forget. God is not destroying me, He's rebuilding me from the root. And indeed, years later, she became a spiritual guide to hundreds, not because she succeeded, but because she fell into the dark and still found her way back. The truth is, you will never fully know who you are until you lose everything you once thought was you. Rebirth doesn't begin with joy, it begins with loss. But in that ash, what remains is you. Raw, wild, but truly free. So after you've been rebuilt, who will you become? A new Sagittarius, no longer bound, no longer needing validation, emerging from the fire with something powerful to offer the world. Let's walk together into the final chapter, where you are no longer seeking something outside of you, but finally living the mission you were born to carry, to become a torch for a world tired of the dark. And then, after all the losses, after the nights that seem to have no end, you will walk out of the fire no longer the same. Not because you found every answer, but because you stopped searching outside. You began to live, not to prove, not to escape, but to simply be. That's the nature of the Sagittarius soul. Once you've allowed yourself to burn in the fires of awakening, there is no going back. You become the torch. You become the light bearer, sometimes quietly, sometimes fiercely, but always honestly, always bravely. And the most beautiful part, you don't need anyone's permission to be that. You are the freedom the world forgot, the faith they buried, the voice they tried to silence, but not anymore. If something in you has just been touched, leave a small promise in the comments. I choose to live true to my soul, even if the path is unlike anyone else's. Because what's written becomes a seed, a reminder to yourself, a signal to the universe that you are ready. If these words made you see a part of yourself, press like as a way to connect with the light rising in you. Share this video with someone you believe is also waiting for a sign, a confirmation, a hidden hand pulling them from the dark. Subscribe if you believe that the spiritual journey is a journey of living truly and that you don't want to walk it alone. Because here, every soul that dares to awaken is welcomed. You've walked through fire, you've listened to the call, and now you stand at the place few have dared to reach, the true beginning. Because after all the breaking, after all the falling, after all the wandering, what you were always searching for, what you were always praying for, what you were always asking the universe for, was there. Inside you. You don't have to run anymore. You only have to live. Live true. Live right. Live bright. The way your Sagittarius soul was born to shine. And if you are ready for the next chapter, where your mission is no longer a mystery, but something you wake up and breathe each day, I will meet you there, in the light we're building together.